Three things about this week. You're going to get lucky. You're going to have some exceptionally helpful closure in your life. And you're going to have an incredible conversation. Hello and welcome. This is the Astrology of the Week Ahead podcast. I'm your host, your astro bestie, Chani Nicholas. And in this episode, we are talking about the week of June 2nd, and it brings such gorgeous astrology. It brings about such beautiful, cute, little darling moments. And I'm here to tell you all about them. One of the best things that can happen happens on Wednesday, astrologically speaking, and it brings about a feeling of union and connectivity, connection, sweetness, and abundance. This is a really, really good day to hang out with your friends. This is a really good day to tell people why you appreciate them. This is an excellent day to do anything that brings you joy, to focus on the things that are pleasurable, that are beautiful, that are sweet, and that help you to foster greater connections. I was recently listening to a panel of people speaking, and I'm not sure if somebody said this outright or if I just wrote it down because it was what I was thinking because of what they were saying. But I wrote in a journal that I just saw the other day, the measure of success is knowing how to ask for help. And this was a conversation that was going on about the state of the world and about how we got here. Like, how did we get here? Who drove us here? Like, did they have a license? How did this happen? And I think that in a counter response to the type of hyper individualism that we live within, we're all talking about community as a way to counter fascism and fascistic actions that are being taken by whatever government we're living under. So I wrote that down and I've been thinking a lot about it and how actually hard it is for me to do. And so I just offer it to us for Wednesday's astrology and really for this week's astrology, because one of the standout signatures that's happening on Wednesday is all about fostering luck and sweetness and a sense of abundance and appreciation for life, which is luck, which is abundance, by connection. And because we are taught to fear other people, because we are taught to compete with everybody around us, because we're taught that if we don't go out and get ours, there will not be enough for everybody, and we are going to be left wanting. Instead of like sharing is the safest thing we can do, or sharing and being abundant with how we give forth of our resources is actually the only way to create safety. So this is the astrology that I'm talking about. On Wednesday, the 4th of June, Venus, planet of connection and pleasure and sweetness and love, makes a sextile, which is Venus's signature move, to Jupiter, the planet of wisdom and gratitude and abundance and teachings and just like living a good life. These two planets teach us how to live a good life. And you might notice that neither one of their significations is about hoarding. I mean, in certain signs, they could represent that kind of function if they're malfunctioning. But in their outright kind of nature, which both of them are struggling at the moment. So I think that it is really good medicine to bring this awareness to the situation to help amp up the astrology. This is the deal. Venus is at the very end of Aries, the sign of its exile or detriment. So the place where it is antithetical or has to act like a contrarian. So I've said this a lot with Venus in Aries because it's been in and out of Aries for most of the year of 2025. And it's at the very, very, very end of Aries on Wednesday as it makes this gorgeous, helpful sextile to Jupiter. The thing about Venus and Aries is that we have to act differently to get a different result. So in regards to your relationships or your ability to have fun and enjoy your life, Venus in Aries signifies a time where it's really potent and really powerful to do things differently than you normally would, to be brave in the face of your insecurity, to be brave in the face of your fear of rejection, especially. So it's a really good time to meditate on that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. How can you be brave in the face of your own insecurity and your own fear of rejection and be like, well, I've been rejected a lot in my life and I'm still here. It hasn't destroyed me yet. So why not try another thing? Be brave in the face of your own fear of rejection and your own insecurity in relationship, and be generous. Be as generous of heart as you can be. So Venus is at the very, very end of Aries, a sign that it needs to be a contrarian in. So we have to be brave in the face of our relationship-ish. Jupiter is at the very end of Gemini, and that is the sign that it is in its own detriment in, that it is in its exile in. So it means that we have a lack of faith or a lack of feeling abundant. And so we have to do the contrary thing and say, well, it might not look like we have a lot or like I have a lot, but I'm going to act like I do. I'm going to bring my best to this situation because I'm just going to pretend like I've got it and I've got it to give. Because Venus and Jupiter are making a sextile, again, one of the best things they can do, and they're the two planets that facilitate the best things in our life, and they're both at the very end of these signs. We have to do things differently than we normally would in order to get this goodness. And it signifies a good end to the story because they're both about to change signs. Huge news. Venus is moving into Taurus on Thursday, the 5th of June. That is one of the signs that it is at home in, meaning it will be very well resourced, meaning June will be a very good month for our relationships, for our feeling of being connected to joy and beauty and art and things to celebrate. And on June 9th, Jupiter moves into Cancer. This is a once in 12 year, absolutely lucky signature. And it lasts for a whole year. So on Wednesday, both of those planets are finishing something up in the signs that they're in. They're making a great connection with one another, signaling a really good ending to something. And a phenomenal new beginning. One starts on the 5th, on Thursday, the 5th of June. The next one starts on Monday, the 9th of June. This is really, really helpful. Okay, so Wednesday signals a moment of luck and a moment of connection, and it encourages us, or I'm encouraging us, to move through the beginning part of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, making sure that we are participating in actions that feel contrary to us, that help us to reach out to people, that help us to build connection, that help us to take risks in relationships, and that help us to remember that having faith or hope has to be a practice. It is a skill and it is a muscle that we must develop. Hope is a practice, as Miriam Kaba teaches us. Please read her work. Okay, so we're finishing something up on Wednesday that has this really sweet note at the very end of it. Then on Thursday, we're beginning a 1 month, it's not that long, a 1 month helpful transit from Venus that goes through Taurus that's going to help us to connect to people. It's going to help us have a very sweet June. Happy Pride, y'all. Happy Pride Month. It's going to help us have a sweet June that will help us to make and build and foster some steady, sturdy connections. And then on Sunday, we move towards another ending, and it is also exceptionally positive, like really, really, really wonderful. We're having a conversation. You're talking about something that is mind-altering and really helps you to expand the ways that you're thinking about something. And it's a closing conversation. It is okay, yes, that's a great plan. Let's try that. Again, we're being asked to put our thinking caps on and to assume that things will work out. Even if the world looks really grim and dim and there's stuff going on that just feels exceptionally gloomy and difficult and challenging. Our task right now is to assume that we will win. Our task right now is to say, what if it all works out? What if we can actually save the most important things? What if we've lost a lot? What if we're not going to argue that? And what if we can do miraculous things even in the face of all of this? It is a very celebratory conversation or piece of news that comes through the ethers, comes through our feeds, and there's something here for us to personally tap into. And that is the power of our ability to think beyond the present moment, to think in bigger and more generous and more generative ways than the people that would like to see everybody suffer and to hoard all the resources and to make everybody else miserable. We have to be able to have conversations that expand beyond the very contracted place that we find ourselves in. And that's what Sunday does. So Mercury at the very end of Gemini is making a conjunction with Jupiter at the very end of Gemini. So again, it's a conversation, that's Mercury, about what we have faith or hope in, that's Jupiter. About abundance, that's Jupiter. About generosity, that's Jupiter. And again, because Jupiter struggles at the very end of a sign and also in Gemini, we have to be like, okay, how can I push back against this? How can I swim upstream in this conversation or with this thought? How can I act as if everything will work out? Or just have that question, what if everything worked out? How would I be having this conversation? How would I be thinking about this? What if this was the moment that turned everything? What if this was the moment that unlocked it all? And I was part of a conversation that helped me to switch gears to say, wait a minute, we haven't tried this. We haven't tried it this way. I have yet to approach it from this other point of view. Let me try it. This is the day, Sunday is a day for us to be exceptionally curious about what is possible. Again, in the face of things that look impossible, what is still possible? That is our task. That is our job, I believe, in this moment. And then Mercury moves into Cancer, which makes it want to have more conversations about how to care for each other, how to move through this moment with thoughtfulness, and how to nourish each other with words. And I'm telling you, on Monday, when Jupiter moves into Cancer, things change. So Sunday leaves us at this very end, really important moment. It's a moment of closure. And it is a moment where we might feel like, oh my God, I've got to try to find hope here. Yes, you do. Because tomorrow, Monday, the 9th, Jupiter moves into Cancer. And it is an exceptionally important moment in 2025. Because we're still up against everything we're up against. But now we have something on our side that we have yet to have. And it is such a change. It is such a switch that is getting flipped. And it's going to make us feel more nourished, more resourced, more cared for, and more willing and more able to care for ourselves and each other. That is my hope. That is my wish. All right. Somebody wrote in asking about Saturn return in Aries tips, which I am so thrilled that you asked about because we just released a whole entire Saturn return course in the Chani app. It is there for premium subscribers. It is a whole situation. It is a whole workshop on your Saturn return. So please go check it out if you have the Chani app premium version. And if you do not, this is the deal. So right now we are giving everyone an all access pass to the Chani app past users, never have used the app before, all of you, all you need to do is use the code Saturn30 to unlock 30 days of absolutely free premium content. You can do the Saturn return workshop. You can check out your reading for the year, for the week. All of it is there and so much more. You can read about your Saturn placement. Please read about your Saturn placement. So all you have to do is enter the code Saturn30 in the redeem code offer section of the app, and you will get 30 days of access. If you've been on the app before, if you've never been on the app, doesn't matter. It's all here for you because we have just gone through one of the bigger transits of the year. Again, 2025 is just one after the other. So we want to support you through it all. So Saturn30 in the Chani app, and you can have for free the Saturn return course. Okay, so for everybody else who doesn't do that, Saturn return in Aries tips and tricks. You got to be patient. It's going to annoy you. Make friends with frustration. But the most important thing, and I go through this in great detail in the course, is that you understand the house that your natal Saturn is in, because that is where your Saturn return is going to happen. And this is where you will get the most bang for your buck in terms of understanding how to work with this transit. The house in your chart that contains Aries, if you have Saturn in Aries, also contains your Saturn. So this will be the area of your life that will give you oftentimes the most grief. Really, honestly, it will give you the hardest time. And it will also, if you go into what is hard and why, will give you the greatest rewards. And I really do mean that. But this is the thing with Saturn, is that it makes you spend time. It does not give you immediate gratification. So when we go through our first Saturn return from the age of about 27 to about 30, it's deeply frustrating for everybody, no matter what sign your Saturn is in. It is frustrating because it holds us in place, or it slows us down, or it isolates us, or it demands that we do something really hard. And it generally doesn't give us results for a couple of years. And when we're young, when we're at the end of our 20s, that is incredibly frustrating. Not that you haven't had big challenges in your life. You have. You live in this world with me. We all do. But there's something here that kind of just like holds us and holds us and holds us. And it says, not yet, not yet, not yet. Sit down, stay, meditate on it, work harder, work deeper, work smarter, do it for longer. And it's not because you're doing something wrong. And it's not because you're not special. It's not because you're on the wrong path. It's not because of any of that. It's because Saturn demands that we cultivate patience, because we cannot cultivate wisdom or good life experience until we have cultivated the ability to be in the work, to do the work for the sake of learning how to do the work. That's it. That is the job of Saturn. Saturn is like, you need to learn how to depend on yourself, not because you shouldn't be interdependent and think in terms of what is best for community, yourself in the framework of community, of connectivity. No, but because you need to know that no matter if things work out or if things are hard, you can rely on your ability to try and try and try and work at it and go back to the drawing board and do it again. Because that is how we get to something gorgeous and wonderful and helpful. And that is how we build self-respect. That is how we build integrity, through consistency, even when it's hard. And it's not like every single day of your Saturn return is going to be miserable. It's not. But it is a hefty challenge. It's a hefty corner of your 20s into 30 to turn. And you can think about it like that. It's a corner you're turning that you've never turned before, but it's also the end of a lap. Like you've done the whole circle by the time you get to your Saturn return, and you get to claim that. You get to own that. You get to be like, I've been literally around this block. By the end of your Saturn return, you're going to be like, I know this. I might not know a lot. And if I've done my Saturn return well, I know that I know a lot less than I thought I did. But I know how to move through this circle. I know how to get through this gauntlet. I have been around this block of my life, and I am still here. I am older, I am wiser, and I know that I am capable of doing it again. Now, the extra difficult thing about Saturn in Aries, if you have Saturn in Aries, is that Saturn moves slow, and Aries is very frustrated by that. So it's almost like you get frustrated with yourself or frustrated with the tone of how things go or the speed at which things go. And learning how to work with frustration will be one of your greatest assets at this moment. Because frustration isn't bad. It's a signal that either we need to try something differently or we need to deepen our practice. Because yes, finishing something is frustrating. Life is frustrating. Not being at the center of the universe is frustrating. And your Saturn return will humble you and remind you that you are not at the center of the universe. And you're not going to be young forever. And you too will die. You too will age. You too will be irrelevant at some point. It's humbling. And so in that humbling, we're taught how to cultivate patience. Because when our ego is not driving everything and we cultivate patience, we actually have a tremendous gratitude for what is actually happening because we can be present. Patience brings us presence. And that's part of what the Saturn return wants to help us do. So get to know the area of your chart that your Saturn return is happening in. And that area of your chart, that house in your chart, will tell you so much about what you need to be disciplined about, where you need to do something difficult but worthwhile, and where you're learning how to really grow up and show up. And use the code Saturn30 in the Chani app and do the Saturn return course. And I promise you, it will give you some amazing insights. Not because I'm amazing, but because astrology is amazing. It is this incredible tool that we have been given. And if you resonate with it and you learn about your chart and how it actually functions, like the technology of the astrology never, ever, ever lets us down. Ever. It's so wild how it always shows up so precisely. All right, try it out. Let me know how it goes. Sending you lots and lots and lots of love. Come back. Next week, we'll talk about Jupiter in Cancer and how it's going to help us. Sending you lots of love, all the blessings. Bye for now.